Are you tired of being nothing more than a simple cog in the capitalist machine of modern society? Do you dream of a life free from abstract responsibilities forced upon you by others? Well then why not leave your entire life behind and start a vineyard? Just look at Emma. She knows that running away from your problems is always the best option.
I can't take a single step without feeling rushed to soak my soul and the hard stems pierce into my tender skin.
100 Days Winemaking Simulator is a tycoon-style game where you are in charge of your very own vineyard. Gameplay-wise, it's pretty straightforward as you would expect from a tycoon game, but also weirdly realistic. Now, I don't know how to make wine IRL, and I couldn't have cared less. But this game, this game cares. And it makes sure that you too will know everything there is to know about winemaking. Every single step of making wine, from harvesting up until like selling your wine and everything in between, is explained in excruciating detail. An effort which is frankly unnecessary, considering the gameplay just boils down to finding the optimal set of actions to perform on your grapes in order to always obtain the perfect wine. But okay, look, I'm getting ahead of myself. Basically, you have these cards that indicate different actions that you can do, like harvesting, or aging, or pressing, or fermentation, or whatever. And in order to play these cards, you need to place them on this grid, and each card has different tile arrangements. This means that in order to maximize each turn, you need to strategically place your cards like you're playing one of them Tetris puzzle games. So the micro gameplay is definitely unique for a tycoon, I'll give it that, which I appreciate, because usually strategy games like these have little to no micro at all, and all the gameplay lies in the macro strategies that you form in your mind, so it's nice to have these very minute puzzles to do, if nothing else, in order to slightly distract your mind from going numb the way it might after like 100 rounds of Sid Meier's. And so, the macro of this game, obviously, lies in trying to make the best wine possible. It's called Winemaking Simulator. We're making wine, guys. It's called Winemaking Simulator. And you achieve this by experimenting with all the different levels of fermentation and aging and pressing and yada yada, right up until you bottle your wine and send it to a sommelier for tasting. After this tasting, your wine is going to be given a rating out of 100 based on different stats. And this is all great and wonderful, okay? Nice gameplay loop. You experiment and try and get in different types of wines that you can get, until you finally find the perfect series of actions to perform on your grapes in order to obtain the optimal wine. Because as I said, each grape variety has a singular optimal outcome. There's no accounting for preferences or taste. There's only objective truth here. And when you do find the set of actions to do in order to obtain this objective truth, experimentation goes out the countryside and you begin to just repeat the same set of actions every year on repeat and hope that the randomized stat rolls just work out in your favor. Now, if my name started with J and ended with Geller, I would make an eloquently worded essay on how this showcases the nature of the modern human who will always chase productivity, even after having escaped a life where they felt like a slave to corporate productivity in the first place. But my name does not start with J, nor does it end with Geller. And so I will simply say that I don't think this is a purposeful gameplay choice in order to communicate a message to the player, and I think it's just more so just a natural consequence of being a tycoon game, which is essentially just capitalism the genre, let's be honest here. We'll be right back after these messages.
Hey, did you guys hear about the arsonist who burned down that vineyard in Italy?
No, I did not. I was too busy playing.
Sponsored game.
Whoa, I love that game. I watched my favorite YouTuber Klumetrix talk about it.
That's right. I also downloaded after I saw his video. Man, I don't know what I'd do if I wasn't subscribed to Klumetrix on YouTube.com.
I would have probably killed myself already.
Yeah. Is not in any way, shape, or form. Your self-harm, suicidal tendencies. If you are lovely, just make it simple to contact your local suicide hotline or licensed therapist. Remember, maybe your head is cool, but so is living, so keep on living. Yeah, I told you guys I'd be back. Let's go now. What are we laughing at? What did I miss? So, I've been talking about the game's message and what it's communicating to the player, but there's actually a full-on story mode here, and it goes places that I would not have foreseen. It all begins with Emma, whom you're playing as, being stuck in a boring office job until you receive a letter that you've inherited a whole-ass vineyard, and that this is your life's goal from now on, and you should drop everything that you have in your current life and go start a new one as a winemaker. So obviously, you drop everything you have in your current life and start a new one as a winemaker. Hello? Like, what else are you gonna do? Once you move to your vineyard, you meet a couple people who help you get your bearings in the business, considering you don't know anything about wine other than its power on middle-aged women. Speaking of which, the first person you meet is your neighbor Anna. Then we got Tio the Hunk and Wine Master Gianni, Now this last guy, Gianni, acts as your mentor, the stern but wise sensei. Like in that one drum movie, I think, I didn't watch it. And he holds your hand and guides you through all the different complicated steps of making wine that I was talking about, until eventually, your first bottle of wine is ready. And when that does happen, Anna introduces you to Satoshi, not that one, not this guy, this is a different Satoshi. He's the owner of the wine bar. And Satoshi doesn't have any relevance to the story, but he does serve as an intermediary for you to meet the journalist Carlo, who interviews you, which leads to your first bit of fame among amateur winemakers community, and this is where the game really starts. Now eventually, as you keep making wine and then growing your business, you're gonna meet Luca the agronomist, who talks to you about the vibes of the plants, telling you how to heal them physically, spiritually, and metaphysically, yo. This encounter kickstarts a whole chain of events, where you meet Elena, who owns a restaurant with all handmade ingredients because Luca told you to go there and get the holistic menu in order to realign your chakras and your soul or something. I don't know, I kind of got lost there. And obviously, the waitress at this restaurant is a woman called Sophie, who starts each of her lines with a French expression in order to drill in the idea that she's from France and not from Italy, reminding you that this game takes place in Italy and not France, nor anywhere else. And of course, Sophie invites you to join her book club, which she has. And oop, we're not done, because she also has a podcast called Veraison that she invites you to join, which apparently Veraison is the word used to describe the transition and change of colors of grape berries between the seasons, which is pretty cool, I guess. I mean, of course I knew that. I mean, I'm just letting you guys, what do you take me for? Whilst you are meeting all of these eccentric individuals and being immersed into the true Neo-Homesteading, Eco-Spiritualist, rural progressive mentality, there's evil brewing in the background. Now we, as the player, are shown snippets of conversations depicting a man called Filippo and a woman called Chiara that Emma is not privy to. Now Filippo is shown as a businessman who's the lord of wine in the area. Meanwhile, Chiara is firmly in the winemaker culture. Chiara listens to the Veraison podcast and is a fan of Emma's vineyard as an amateur winemaker. Meanwhile, Filippo is annoyed that this little brat with no prior experience in winemaking is getting so much media attention. So one by one, articles begin appearing online besmirching our wine, saying it's overrated and that you're just better off sticking to one of the already established brands that just happen to be distributed by Filippo's business. I wonder who might be writing these articles. Fortunately, a key aspect of the Neo-Homesteading Eco-Spiritualist rural progressive mentality is an emphasis on community. So Sophie la Chèvre, that's goat in French, doesn't hit as hard as goat, but we take what we can get, steps up to use her influence to find out who's behind the evil articles. Also, Luca reveals that he's a transcendent entity who is completely self-aware of his status as a video game character. It's never mentioned again. Yeah, turns out Gianni's an arsonist. What? Oop, wait, no, actually he didn't do any of that. I mean, wait, okay, no, he did do it, but it was an accident, and he's also supposed to be the good guy because his brother, who's Filippo by the way, if you didn't catch that, was actually doing illegal business practices, so Gianni did actually start the fire, but it wasn't on purpose, so that's okay. And also the other guy working there was evil anyway, so actually Gianni's the good guy. And if that seemed like it came out of left field and went straight back out of right field, that's good, because that's exactly how it was presented in the game. I guess story pacing is a difficult thing to get right in a winemaking tycoon game. But yeah, that was the big reveal, and now we talk to Anna, who puts us in contact with Chiara, and we give her the letter, and she instantly takes it at face value and decides to question everything she believed about the fire for years, instead of questioning the letter itself, which is pretty convenient for us because we also take the letter at face value. But hey, it's a story, and we know that Gianni's the good guy, so he wouldn't lie, so nuh-uh, good guy don't lie. So Gianni good guy, and we trust him. And the next thing we know, bada bing bada boom, the entire town knows about Filippo's fraud. We even get a comically on-the-nose epilogue line where it's literally the game doing the "and they went on to achieve all their dreams" montage thing. Roll credits! Why did I play this game? I don't even like wine. So what is this game really? Well, first of all, it's very niche, to say the least. The fandom wiki page for this game contains a whopping 35 pages, most of which are very fleshed out and definitely not placeholders, nuh-uh. The gameplay is fine, but the randomness of your wine just deciding to get worse stats or a bad flavor without you being able to do anything about it is pretty annoying. So much so that initially I was very motivated to figure out all the necessary steps to obtain the perfect wine with all the grape types, and I was like, oh, this is a fun game, I get to experiment and then find out what works and what doesn't. but it becomes frustrating when you're trying to clock how the dozens of operations you're gonna do on your wine will interact when they behave differently every single time. Call me a fake gamer, but I ended up never getting a wine to a score of 100. But the programming side of things is pretty good. I didn't encounter a single major bug while playing, so that gets a fat thumbs up from me, a fat green thumb. Because it's a winemaking simulator and we're in the countryside, a green thumbs up. And as much as 100 Days is a silly little video game about making wine in a silly little town in Italy and meeting a bunch of silly little hippies, it's also an experience that is fundamentally contrarian to itself. It wants to capture every intricate detail of the art of winemaking, while still being an enjoyable game that doesn't feel like a chore. It wants its players to be ambitious and strive to expand their business, but also demands the patience to wait for the seasons to slowly pass with many turns where you can't do anything before you can grow your next batch of grapes. You, as a player, are simultaneously encouraged to learn how each process affects your grapes, while also constantly being humbled by the realization that nature, or the in-game RNG, will ultimately have the final say. I mean, for crying out loud, it's a computer game that romanticizes rural living. And yet, despite all these clashing ideas, it managed to give me a unified experience that stuck with me enough to produce this entire video. Also, it helped that the soundtrack is absolutely fire.